man, if you are a War Machine fan, we've got something awesome to talk about today.
Yes.
And if you're not a War Machine fan, you're going to be, because today's topic, Iron Kingdoms, is dope as hell. Hello and welcome, heroes, to the Crit Academy. I am your host, Justin.
I'm your co-host, Ian.
I'm your co-host, Brandon.
We hope to inspire you with creative content that you can bring with you on your next adventure. Holy crap, Iron Kingdoms by Privateer Press. I backed this a while ago, and I have been aching for it to release to the public so that we can talk about it. Yes, thank you for sharing that. So we're going to be making our way through some of the standout features that make this setting absolutely amazing. I read through a lot of content for D&D, but this thing had my dice trembling the entire time.
That's an understatement.
Right. Brandon, do you want to go ahead and introduce people? What is Iron Kingdoms?
Iron Kingdoms. Let's see, they're kingdoms made of iron. The lands known as the Iron Kingdoms have been shaped by strong faiths, the acts of the gods themselves, and centuries of conflict. They are home to proud peoples whose identity and cultures are inextricably linked with the ground upon which they build their homes and cities. Shut up. And although they have survived plague, famine, war, invasion, and the horrors of the claiming.
Nice.
Yeah.
The citizens of these kingdoms and the people of the wilds that surround them know that their greatest challenges may yet lie ahead.
And I actually do think it's worth mentioning for the kingdoms. I think the book did a very good job of summarizing each kingdom, the kind of people you'd expect to live there. And I actually like the fact that they actually use the kingdoms as an extension to flesh out the human race option, if you will, by having their stats change depending on which kingdom they come from. And honestly, many of those stat increases make perfect sense. Like the guys from the frozen North Russia kingdom have resistance to cold damage or harsh winter environments.
I love that. And actually that brings us into a good starting point. I pulled up on the screen for these. You can see there is a plethora of content in this book. Obviously, we can't be expected to cover all of it, but man, am I excited to talk about some of our favorite little details.
And it's worth mentioning the PDF is 270 pages, so there's plenty of material to pull from.
So obviously, anytime you're playing D&D or picking up a book, you want to know what makes this setting different than what we're used to, right? And there's certainly something that Iron Kingdom does that just blows me away. I want to first start by they remove some spells. There's some D&D spells they just don't allow because it's not part of the setting lore. I think this is a great example for players and GMs who want to restrict things and have players that get upset with that sometimes.
Right.
I think they do that really well. For instance, they've removed basically anything that deals with contacting other planes and plane shifting and magic similar to that effect.
Just because it's just something that's not as part of the lore of this fantasy setting.
Yeah, and that's perfectly okay.
Does that assume such spells as banishment?
Yes, I would imagine. It's very generalized, but you could change banishment to just being like a prison or something. It doesn't have to mechanically. You can change it to fit if you want.
Temporal prison.
Yeah, there you go. Or it locks you out of time or something. But basically, the thing is, there's only one plane of existence, so that's the big deal, right? First of all, can I just say how amazing the artwork is? I was blown away. I love the mix of science and magic that is so in core to this world.
Science is magic.
Yeah, the other thing that stands out is fancy mechs.
Yes. Actually, do you want to talk about are you talking about the steam jacks?
Well, yeah.
Well, let's dig into the Mechanica first. So,
yeah, the Mechanica. Of all of the benefits that mech has brought to the people in the Iron Kingdoms, the Mechanica, a synthesis of both arcane and the mechanical, have the most profound impact. In other words, artificers will be right at home in this setting.
Oh, absolutely. Hell yes.
It has revolutionized industry and warfare in every way imaginable, and its innovations continue through new marvels that's constantly being updated. By using magic to overcome engineering obstacles, Mechanica allows for the reliable production of tools and weapons that harness arcane energy and applies them in useful ways, putting the power of the arcanes in the hands of those who might not otherwise have it.
Gun mage.
Yeah.
That's one of them. Yeah.
And many gifted individuals make their livings as arcane mechanics, practicing industrial thaumaturgy and the crafting of potent devices, and those with the skills and aptitude to do so are most definitely in high demand.
So this really is something that's interesting, because now we've taken a mesh of what to me seems like a mix of steampunk, of sci-fi, and fantasy, all kind of compiled into one.
And also, not gonna lie, too, I definitely thought about the. Never mind. Let's keep going.
Thanks for sharing. So
I like how each page has the gears. Those are pretty.
Yeah, so the layout's really good too, but I would expect nothing less of Privateer Press. So there's a lot to really delve into with the characters and the classes. Obviously, we can't cover every little thing that's in it, so we're going to touch on a few of our favorites as we make it through. But one thing, and I think you saw one back here, I want to touch on is something that's unique to this world are called Steamjacks.
Yeah.
And this is way cooler than any construct that I've seen before, because they're almost semi-sentient.
Yeah.
They're simplified. What?
Alicia.
Oh.
Anyway.
So I will. So we're gonna dig into that a little bit. Let's see if I can find some more pictures of the Steamjacks, because I think that they're really, really important to this society in specific, because it basically does what we're concerned with. In reality, is robots taking everybody's jobs, right?
Yeah. It took a chair. Shoot, Steamjacks have their own weapons tables.
Yes, which I think is awesome. So let's talk about what a Steamjack is. If you don't know,
go to sleep.
Steamjacks are among the greatest of all of the mechanical wonders, and they have revolutionized warfare, the warfare, industrial, architectural, and countless other ways since the introduction of the Western Imoran, which is, I think, one of the areas, right? Labor jacks work in logging camps, freight yards, docks, and construction sites throughout the continent. And every citizen in the Iron Kingdoms is familiar with these fearsome sight warjacks, the greatest weapons of war of the modern age, equipped with dedicated military weaponry and most advanced cortexes that the finest arcane mechanics can produce.
It's like a tank bullying a house.
Yep,
very much. And so
it's not wartime. We're
now, to just touch on these a little bit before we look at some of the more mechanical aspects, the Steamjacks combine all the principles of Mechanica, demonstrating how the melding of magic and the industry can produce something. You really need to be mocking me?
Yes.
Okay.
It's not hard.
Just making sure. I forgot where I was at. This allows them to produce something beyond what each is capable together. So steam-driven engines power the metal chassis, control their cortex, and the Steamjack's mechanical brain all mesh together. Although not as smart as adaptable as people, Steamjacks possess basic intelligence and ability to solve specific problems. Two properties that combine with tremendous strength and durability make them absolutely amazing, not only laborers but tools of war. And I think it's awesome. I really do.
Armored Core BC.
So I know you touched on reading a little bit of the mechanics. What is something about these that you really liked, Ian? I know you talked about the fact that they have their own weapons table, which is really cool.
Yep. I mean, I always just like giant robots. Do I have to say more, really? I mean, right. I suppose you are asking me down.
Yeah. So here's a really good example. We're looking at like steam engine type tank things with flying people on jetpacks and stuff. That shows the combination of Mechanica and magic that I think is really cool.
Yep.
But I really want to delve into is some of the class options. Real quick, Steamjacks can be powerful allies, enemies, and just things that are around doing stuff that are just in the way of the players. Like, can you imagine they're so simple that they have a specific task and will carry that out even if you're in the way and just like pick you up and move you so it can finish its job, which I think is really cool.
Step on you.
Silverwolf says it's steampunk. To me, it's more of a mix of sci-fi, steampunk, and fantasy more than just steampunk.
So it's magic punk.
Is that a thing?
Yes.
Okay, then it's magic punk. And so for me, that's one of my favorite things. Mind you, the lore has been, War Machine's been around for a while. It started off as a minis game, right?
Yeah.
Which is what D&D started off as, right? So it's
Actually,
not,
yes. Back then it was called Chainmail.
Yep. And so it's not
Is
unusual.
War Machine like an offshoot of Warhammer?
No.
No,
Different
but they're
company.
very
Two completely separate things.
But the gameplay's similar, isn't it?
Yeah.
They're basically big war games, right?
And you do assemble and paint minis.
Mm-hmm.
So
Very similar if you like those sort of things, and now they're just kind of mixing them together. Like Final Fantasy, Dulcinea nailed
That's
it.
actually a pretty good example. Yeah.
Yes, especially Final Fantasy 7, I think, would be really, really close, right?
it seems at a quick glance that War Machine was founded back in 2003. So yeah. I was 20 years old at this point. Congrats.
Look at that. And the artwork is so nice, so kudos to the
pretty.
team. What?
So it's so pretty. I like his sword.
It is a nice sword.
Yeah, that's all right. The Steam Jack one back here?
Yeah, I like his friend too.
The dead one. All right, so there's something that they did so every supplement comes with races and classes and all that stuff, but Iron Kingdoms did something different. They added what's called essences. Brandon, do you want to tell us a little bit about essences? With excitement in your voice.
Oh, character options.
What do I do
thought
with
that was
my
character
water?
concepts. Like, why do we don't have those?
Water.
Oh my god.
Thanks.
There you go. Fucking fat ass. Talk about myself, not you. Character options. Essences. The Iron Kingdoms are a widely varied place, and characters' natural aptitudes determine as much about their abilities as the parents they were born to and the places they grew up in. Quarks. When creating a campaign, a DM can decide to use the following rules for essence in addition to those for races, classes, and background. When using these rules, racial ability score increases are not used.
Yep.
Those values are instead determined by a character's essence and background. Each essence also grants an additional trait and access to feats that have the essence as a prerequisite.
Yep.
I think that's really interesting. Yep. So they do take a slightly different approach. And I want to give an example of one of these essences because I think this is a really good thing that I would like to see more of in D&D. Specifically because it gives what?
More options.
More options. So let's talk about this. So
more options.
When you choose the essence of intellect, which is only, I think I'll scroll over here. So yeah, right here, the intellectual essence right here that we talk about, right?
Fucking Ian. Just 5 different characters named Sid.
How many Final Fantasies? One for each one. Anyways, so with the intellectual, for instance, it's capable of true bursts of genius. The characters with the intellectual essence are often exceptionally intelligent and think impossibly quick and clear. And characters with this essence are cerebral thinkers and planners who see all the angles and anticipate the best course of action taken from those with lesser minds.
And it can also boost any of your mental scores by 2.
Which is great.
And they can also choose one of their skill or tool proficiencies and double the proficiency bonus.
Yeah.
And they can pick another one at level 11.
And I think that's really great because it expands beyond just what you get at first when you first pick it up.
Yep.
Like is what happens when you get your regular backgrounds and your stuff like your regular things. So it scales and offers additional benefits at higher tiers, which I think is really cool.
And as we already touched on, they can get access to feats that only those with this essence can get. Like Prescient, for example, at the beginning of a combat encounter, if you're not surprised, you can choose to go first instead of rolling initiative. But you can only do that once per long rest. So.
Yep. Dulcinea, no, not mind flayers, just smart people. Alchemist, maybe, artificer, any smart person. That's what I think is cool about it, though.
I do think it's interesting too that they split off Alchemist into its own class instead of a subclass,
which is awesome. By the way, I liked it.
It is. These grenades.
So, you already talked about the Prescient, right?
Yes.
Is that what it is? Or you can pick up quick thinking. So here we're getting to where everyone that picks this potential essence doesn't necessarily pick the same features along the way.
Yep.
Brandon, do you want to tell us about the quick thinking intellectual essence?
I can try to.
Okay. We appreciate it. No? Okay.
Your nimble mind enables you to act impossibly fast and take advantage of the slightest hesitation by your enemies. You can take one action or bonus action at the end of another creature's turn. What the fuck?
Yeah.
You can't use this feature again until you finish a long rest. Okay, so you can do once. That's neat.
And like the other ones they can get is Battlefield Coordinator, Genius, Vigilant, but in other Essence examples you can get are like Mighty, Gifted, Agile.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ones, and I think that adds to the versatility, which is something everyone in D&D wants to see more of, right? We want more versatility. We want more options. And I think Iron Kingdom's Requiem 5e has taken those steps with their slight changes. Now, there are a lot of essences. There are a lot of player options. But as we said, we're limited on time, so we're going to go ahead and talk about races.
How many essences are there?
I have
Like
no
6.
idea. There's 6.
That means there's a lot.
Yeah. And each one has multiple options, right?
Yeah.
So it gives you even more. So I want to talk a little bit about the races. So one of the things that I really liked was the Ogren. So in the Iron Kingdoms, humans are by far the most prevalent of all the settled peoples of the Western Imoran, but they are by no means the only ones, right? In every city from Uldefrost in the north to Kadar in the sweltering isles of Blackwater in the Shard Islands, a range of other races call the continent their home as well. Humans just are little bunnies and just popping out, children like no other, right?
Oh, okay.
Compared to the other races, yeah.
So the clever Gobbers, which I think is a way cooler name than Goblin, by the way. Gobbers.
I
think that's awesome.
Fucking gobbers.
Build communities in and among human cities. Hulking Ogren bellow out commands in factories and on docksides. And the savvy Rulik dwarf mercenaries and traders haggle over price of goods and services in the streets, all while teams of urban trollkin, which is another better name than just troll, the trollkin patrol their communities clad in tartan and plate mail. And in some cities, the former inhabitants of the Shard Spires, the enigmatic Nis, which is a really cool one. I chose Ogren instead of them, but they're really cool too. Live among their cousins from mysterious Ios. Almost every permanent settlement in the Iron Kingdoms in home to various peoples, language, and customs. There are 7 new races, each with their own unique variations and sub-races in the Iron Kingdoms.
Yep.
Today we're going to talk about the Ogren. Ian, do you want to give us a little bit of a delve into that?
I can most.
I gotta say, the Ogren. One more. The Ogren image. He's got a gun.
And an axe.
But it's a fucking cannon.
I was going to say, is that a gun or a cannon?
It's a cannon melted with a leather strap.
Why did you mention that? Because they touch on that in their traits a little bit.
Well, good. Let's hear about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not just in the artwork.
First and foremost, you shrink their strength score by 2 and their con score by 1. They are 7 to 8 feet tall, 200 pounds, but still medium creature. Walk speed of 30, has huge stature like the Goliath, which allows them to wield 2-handed weapons in one hand.
Holy shit.
And when you use a weapon with a versatile property, you use the bigger number.
That is awesome.
It doesn't have to be 2-handed for you.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Just this tiny weapon, but it's so big.
D10 on the right, D10 on the left.
Okay. And they have imposing presence, which allows them to gain intimidation or persuasion. They get powerful build, which allows them to count as a large creature when determining carrying capacity.
This last one is my favorite.
Yep, thick-skinned. They have a tough hide. When they're not wearing heavy armor, they get +1 to their AC.
That screams barbarian.
Well, so they're wielding 2-handed weapons in one hand.
Okay, yeah, that too, I guess. And opposing presence. So there's a reason I picked this, because to me, this was a very interesting way to... Because everyone knows a Goliath, this big monstrous creature that has all these. But one thing that always felt short was the stone's endurance. They got rid of the extra defensive property and added an offensive property, which I think they did very, very well.
Although it's worth mentioning they did overhaul Stone's endurance though in Monsters of the Multiverse,
which is awesome. That's for another discussion.
It was needed.
Yeah, it was. It didn't scale enough. No. It was good in like first couple levels, but it fell off pretty quick.
Yeah.
So that's the Ogren. all the races have fun and unique abilities, which just makes the world building that much better, at least in my opinion. All right, so we couldn't delve into all the races, but now we're going to talk about some of the classes. All the standard classes exist in Iron Kingdoms, although some have different roles and levels of social acceptability.
Yep.
In addition to the standard classes that are presented in the book options, there are several unique ones, ranging from the clever alchemist, which Ian already kind of alluded to, who use simple reagents to produce incredible alchemic items. Warcasters, skilled in arcanists who can bond with fusion of magic and technology. Is the Mechanica, known as Mechanica, and it grows even beyond that with the Gun Mage, which I thought was really, really cool. We made one for the Sorcerer, but they completely took it in a different direction, which is just glorious.
And they basically treated the Gun Mage like a warlock with a few extra features, which was kind of nice.
Which I think they did a really, really good job. Let's see if I can get some examples up here. I would like to talk a little bit about some of the classes, but actually, let's just talk about the Gun Mage, since you already kind of mentioned that and go in a little bit of detail with that.
Then go to page 85.
I'm glad you know what page it is. So
I have the glossary in front of me.
Oh, awesome. 85. So we'll show this up on the screen for anybody that's watching live.
Grenades.
But we'll try to treat it as...
what the fuck?
We're talking about the Gun Mage here. So, first of all, the artwork looks amazing. She looks like she's about to really rip somebody a new one with that hand cannon in her arm. The Gun Mage is pretty interesting in the fact that, as Ian said, it's similar to... It's kind of almost a mix of the Warlock and the Fighter, I think. It's an interesting balance. You don't have very many spells known. You certainly don't have very many spell slots. At level 20, you have 4 at 6 levels. So, they definitely... have some work there to do.
Interesting. I'm making their equipment section 2 just because obviously they have a little bit more expanded firearm slots, but just looking at their armor, it's like, oh yeah. Like,
oh yeah, what?
Well, one example was they have like a tailored plate armor as an option here, for example. And the way that one works is instead of being a straight 18, it is actually 15 plus your dex mod.
Okay, that's cool. That's interesting. One thing that they do that I really like is these rune shots, right?
Yep.
So you basically get to pick 2. They once again, it goes back to that fighter thing.
Yep.
It kind of reminds me of the fighter battle master. Here's all these little different options, and you can pick a few that you want, whether it's for accuracy, whether it's to increase your damage, or to one of my favorites is called the Heart Stopper, which basically says this deadly arcane power of this rune etched bullet is intended to bring a swift end to your target. When you use this rune on a shot that hits a creature with the attack, the creature takes an extra 2d6 necrotic damage and must succeed a con save. On a fail, the creature cannot gain hit points until the start of the next turn. That is such a utility ability, and the flavor for it is really, really nice. So, was there anything else that you really liked? Anything that jumps out at you, Brandon, about the Gun Mage?
I'm looking at the Rune Shot Silencer.
Okay.
Trick Shot.
Trick Shot or Silencer? Pick one.
Motherfucker, I'll do Silencer. You completely muffle the sound of your shot, and your firearm produces no sound when it discharges. When you use this Rune Shot and hit a creature with an attack, that creature cannot shout or speak until the start of your next turn.
That sounds cool.
That's great against magic users.
I really like that.
You got some semantics? No, you don't.
Psych! So that shows the versatility of this class. But once again, you're very limited on how many of these you can shoot. But you can, in fact, get them back on a short rest, which is following the Warlock trend that Ian was talking about.
And it is worth mentioning, too, that many of the classes that use firearms only have one shot. But some of them might... do get multi-attacks as they level up. Some, not all, but
right.
Considering how beefy some of the firearms are on here, though, I don't exactly blame them.
Right. I do think that the fighting style is really cool because we have the traditional defense one, but the other two, the keen shot and pistol dueling, are unique to this book's fighting styles, which is really, really good.
Yeah, it's Sid.
Sid is in the book. What page is that?
93.
Let's go to the 93. Somebody was talking about Final Fantasy and Sid earlier. Apparently he's in this book.
Or at least the guy that looks like him.
There he is. There's Sid. It looks just like Sid. He's got the
One of
the
Sid's.
white hair and everything,
That's
right?
funny.
All right, so obviously I would love to spend all day talking about all the classes, but many of them are done really well.
Yep.
Even the expansions to the original classes that are in the book, which is really
Yep.
great.
Now, they don't. It is worth mentioning they don't expand every class in here.
Right there, there were a couple were missing.
Yeah, they have the Bard, Cleric, Fighter, Monk, Paladin, Ranger, and Rogue. So, and it's also worth mentioning that the original classes that we already touched on were Alchemist, Gun Mage, Gunfighter, Mechanic, and Warcaster.
I would like to say something that I did notice while looking through the book. Is
Uh-huh.
the gears that have the page numbers?
Uh-huh.
They're colored based on what chapter you're looking at.
Yes, that's a very subtle detail, and I really liked it.
It is very nice.
All right, so obviously we could talk about classes all day. There's lots of good stuff. I love this. Let's move into one of the other things that I really, really loved about it, adventuring companies. This very much is along the lines of group patrons, I think.
Yep.
But it's handled slightly different, and honestly, I think it's slightly better. More than slight. I think it's better than the group patrons that I already loved, right?
You join a guild. That's pretty much boils down to the guild gives you benefits.
Is this like the Harper's?
You still got 10 minutes. You just nailed it down into one line. Thanks for that. All right, so adventure companies. Adventuring companies represent groups of characters bound together for some purpose. A company provides a theme, unique benefits, and loose framework for a group of characters.
And there's 8 to choose from.
Yes.
And
we're only going to talk about one, but...
Yeah, so we're going to skip to one of the examples, which is the Law Dogs. And,
Law Dogs.
Yep. And you can also earn ranks in the companies, too. And using Law Dogs as an example... The only thing that's required to join them is to be trained in investigation or insight, which grants you the boon of patrolling streets in your downtime and reaching the locals and serving as an intimidating presence against lawbreakers.
Mm-hmm.
And what's nice is, for every number of days equal to the days spent you do this, you gain advantage on your charisma persuasion checks to gain info from the local citizens.
That's so awesome.
Yep. And as you rank up, one example is they can gain special accomplishments. Like with the Law Dogs, once again, they can foil a criminal plot, recover stolen goods, or prevent an innocent person from being wrongfully punished, are just a few examples. And as you increase in tiers, the benefits you get, and with like the Law Dogs getting up to tier 4, you become a Justicar, which earns you legal immunity. And your company has earned so much respect from lawmakers and other such enforcement that you can operate with near impunity. Barring extraordinary circumstances, you can be immune to reprisal for your actions that occur during your pursuit of a criminal.
You hear, all you murder hobos? Pretend to be a good lawman, and you might just get away with it.
Although, to be fair, it is worth pointing out that you have to earn the right to do it.
So I'm glad you talked on that, because that, to me, that's important. It actually has progressive scales and goals you have to achieve in that adventuring group to move forward to gain those benefits.
Yes.
I think this is amazing motivations for the players and hooks for the Dungeon Master.
Yeah.
I think it's just amazing. What do you think, Brandon?
I think it sounds awesome.
A man, a few words.
Yeah, I'm specifically looking for the page that this stuff is on.
Yeah, it's right there.
What?
Oh, I just totally skipped back. Whatever. Anyways, so I think it's really, really cool. It goes up to multiple tiers, which means this could go from low-level game all the way to high-level game. These mechanics are applicable, which I think is really, really great. And I totally want to be a Justicar, which is awesome. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about, the last thing we're going to talk about is rune plates and capacitors. I think this is really, really... You meet a Dragonborn police officer.
What color is he? Copper.
Oh my god.
I'm done.
I cannot believe you, Ian.
It was a quote from a group.
Get out right now. Get out. Copper. All right, so I want to talk a little bit, lastly, about rune plates and capacitors. Now, rune plates are the on the surface of magical runic. It's basically a magic runic formula that are inscribed on something, right? They are created from rare, magically attuned materials that can harness powerful arcane energies. Mechanica runes are the magical formula inscribed on the rune plates themselves. These runes transform magical energy, charging the rune plate into a specific arcane effect. Each rune is a true expression of the arcane mechanics craft, and the inscription of different runes upon powerful rune plates allows almost unlimited combinations of magical arcane effects. What does that sound like to you guys?
Artificer infusions?
That's close.
I don't know.
Magic items?
I got fucking copper stuck in my head, all right?
Yes. They are basically allowing you to mix and match effects to create unique combinations to, in my opinion, further optimize your character to do a specific thing that you want.
It's allowing you to make your own magic item as
That's
a player?
basically what it is.
Yep.
But it's not just you go craft this flame sword. It's I want to grab this, I want to grab this, I want to grab this, and I'm going to put it all together and get a magic item.
I hope to God nothing bad happens.
Ooh, like they used to do in the earlier editions.
Yes. Yes.
Actually, I like
I'm
that,
still
yeah.
sore about that. Years later.
Yeah, that's fine. So, for example, the electrocutioner rune basically adds electrical damage to a weapon attack, right?
Yep.
Melee or ranged. Now they do have charges when you combine them with the depending on the capacitor is what determines how many charges the magical item will have.
Mhm.
So there are rarer versions of each of the runes, right? And then you have the capacitors, and then you have the rune plates, like Quicken Armor, for instance. As a bonus action, you can expend 2 charges. You need an item with a high enough capacitor to hold that. Some of them have 1, some of them have more. And the capacitors activate to activate the rune to drastically improve your reflexes. So for 1 minute, you can dash action or disengage as a bonus action. So a character doesn't have access to gunning action and might want, like a grappler. This is something a grappler would take.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're limited when you grapple somebody, how far you can move.
Mm-hmm.
So picking up a combination of a capacitor to do electrical damage and a rune to do quickening basically allows you to build a fast-running grappler who's not limited like others. And I think that that's fantastic.
It just makes you think of like when Vegeta grabs Goku and he's running and just slams him to the ground.
Just drags him through the rocks. And that's just a fraction of what this book contains.
Oh, yeah.
I wish I could talk about it more, but we are running out of time.
And so much information, only so much time.
Yeah. Overall, what are your guys' general thoughts on this? Hand me that book.
I think this will be a fun game to play in, using the setting and using the supplement.
So good. What about you, B?
It sounds like it'd be so much fun. As a DM, sure.
You're not sure?
I'm not sure. As a player, I'd fucking love to because I want to have my own mech. I grew up watching Gundam Wing. That's my thing.
Oh man, it's been so long.
They got their own variation of the Gun Mage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love it. It really blew me away.
I think I'm the only person who like the anime Knights of Magic.
That's an anime.
I've seen Magic Knight Rager.
I've seen Escaflowne.
Esca who?
Escaflowne.
Where'd he fly to?
Who's that?
90s anime where they basically pilot giant suits of armor, which are basically magic mechs.
Yep. The Iron Kingdom's Requiem 5e is honestly everything that you need to delve into the award-winning world of Iron Kingdoms. It combines the fantastic setting with the newest edition of Dungeons & Dragons, 5th edition, and they really did
A good job. A very
blow
good job.
it up. They nailed it. They really did.
They are so pretty.
And I'd be lying if I didn't say I haven't been pulling from this for our Planeswalker campaign. Dun, dun, dun. Anyways, I think that'll pretty much do it for Iron Kingdom's Requiem. There is a link in the show notes you can check out. If you do consider picking it up, please consider using our link. We do get a small affiliate commission from that, so it does help support the show. As you probably have noticed, the video quality is 1,000 times better. We did get a new camera, so I want to take a moment to thank everyone who purchases our content, who supports us on Patreon. You really are there's a big transformation of all this coming, so I'm really excited.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so we're gonna stop
that-
looking like a bunch of nerds in a basement.
Well, we're still going to be a bunch of nerds. So I'm really excited for that. Anyways.
UTTUT. Oh, okay.
All right.
It's on the to-do
So
list.
let's move on. Before we move on to our tips and tricks, I want to take a minute to talk about Extraordinary Expeditions. Extraordinary Expeditions is coming out soon, you guys.
I got my copy.
I am super excited. Of course you did. Because it has,
I'm not going to apologize for being excited for our own product, which is awesome.
yeah, I know. He's like, I got it already. Too bad. So it does come out very soon. How soon, you ask? May 13th. May 13th. As of this recording, that is little less than 2 weeks away. Now, for those of you that haven't been following or have missed it, you might be asking yourself, what is Extraordinary Expeditions? Well, you can save time and effort by jumping into a game already fleshed out locations, encounters, maps, abilities, and stat blocks. Being a DM is hard work, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So why not let us do the heavy lifting? So you can have a great time at the table as well. Extraordinary Expeditions is 10 wonderful adventures for levels 1 through 10 that are built on a flexible framework that you can just drop into your own games, either for to build off an entire adventure. You can even expand them into a campaign. You can see some nice artwork right up on the front of the screen there.
Nice.
Thank you, Alicia, for putting that up there. It looks
far
really
touched.
good. We're super really excited. We've really done a lot of work, and I want to thank the entire team that's been involved in this. You guys have made it look fantastic. I'm excited for it. If you did not back it and you missed out, please consider picking it up. I promise it'll save you a lot of work. And no matter what decision your players make, if you set that perfect trap for them to follow the billow of smoke in the east, and they go to the west, you just pop open this book, read the first couple short segments, barely even need any reading, and you're good to go. They won't even know.
We'll make sure Jason Voorhees himself delivers it.
Who?
Jason Voorhees.
Who?
The villain from Friday the 13th. Because it's released.
I didn't know he had a last name.
It's released on Friday the 13th. I'm looking at my calendar. May 13th is a Friday.
Wow, that sounds horrible.